famously that extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence. Adam, I'm a professional cosmologist for the last 30 plus years now. I've never reached into a drawer labeled extraordinary evidence. I think that saying's BS. I think it's cute, it sounds good, but really, scientists, we should have our mind on, being epistemologically, humble.
Now, for the record, I don't have anything against Brian Keating. I think he's pretty cool and all, but I do have a problem with that over there. I've heard many people poo-poo the quote, extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence, and it really hurts when it's by scientists. Because it seems that, at least online, in these spheres, there's a lot of confusion on what the quote actually means. And I never really thought about making this video because it feels like, okay, maybe I just view the quote this way. I gotta make my point because I don't see many people explain it the way I do, at least. So I don't know, maybe it's egoistic or whatever, but let me know if you disagree. My problem with when people throw that quote, the only problem I really have with that quote is when some scientists use it lazily to sort of justify their lack of interest in a certain topic. Like, we see it with the UAP topic a lot. And again, for the record, I'm not convinced that it's aliens. I'm not convinced that it's anything supernatural or anything in that ballpark. But that is totally separate from, should this topic be explored and should it be more researched? That's the problem I have. But that's also separate from the quote being true, which is true. Extraordinary claims definitely require extraordinary evidence. We can't really argue about that. What we can argue about is what the point of the quote is. Because to me, it's extremely Humean, in the sense that the whole point of that quote is the proportion. Not what should be viewed as extraordinary or what should be viewed as ordinary. It's that the proportion should be there. Whether something should be viewed as extraordinary comes after research. When you research a topic, when you gather data, that's when you can say, well, then this is ordinary, or well, that is extraordinary. If you don't actually gather data, if you don't actually research it, you don't have that. You don't know what is extraordinary. That's why Occam's razor isn't a be-all end-all discussion ender like it gets used. Since we're talking about UAPs, let's use it here. If I follow the Occam's razor, then aliens and supernatural interdimensional beings or whatever are not the simplest explanation and are in fact extraordinary claims. But that could completely change with research. Let's look at this. Am I convinced that these are aliens? No, I'm not convinced. Are you convinced that these are craft that appear to show capabilities that are beyond what we understand about material science or physics or whatever? No, I'm not convinced. Are you convinced that these are not aliens? No, I'm not convinced. Are you convinced that none of these things are vehicles and can do all that crazy stuff? No, I'm not convinced. The base position of disbelief is different than an active belief that this is false. Because I can totally be justified in not being convinced that these are aliens, and they could still be aliens. So yeah, definitely extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence is a totally correct quote. It's nothing wrong with it. It's just that people forget that it's all about the proportion, not about deeming this extraordinary or ordinary.